Rachel.
And I'm Hannah.
Welcome to the RAD Report, a podcast born out of the nonprofit Ride at Dawn.
In the coming episodes, you will hear real life truths from victims and professionals who have incredible stories of overcoming abuse, finding healing, and building a better industry for our kids in it.
These stories will not be easy to hear. They are even harder to live through. Please use discretion and your own judgment on if you are in a place to listen and absorb these stories.
Our goal for this podcast is to give our guests the stand and a chance to tell their story the way that they want to, uninterrupted and unscripted.
Glad you're here. Please let us know what you think of this episode and comment the questions you want us to ask our guest on the follow-up episode.
Enjoy.
Well, thanks for having me. My name's Jared Langley. I am a detective at the Veneta Police Department. I'm from Blue Jacket, Oklahoma, a little rural community in northeastern Oklahoma. I've been in law enforcement since 2002. Started my career as a patrolman and went to a canine officer 2 years in. I ran canines from '04 to 2015. Retired 2 dogs, had Belgian Malinois. We were very successful. We were the 3rd canine handler team in the city. My career in 2015 resulted in approximately $3 million in cash seizures and approximately 300 narcotics and paraphernalia fines per year. So we'd usually get around 2,700 fines in my career with my dog. After that, they moved me upstairs in 2015, become the detective. My current training and duty assignments are child crimes, adult sexual assaults, and death. So that's the fun stuff that I get to work. So, and it's fun. I mean, just getting them off the street, I used to, when we'd get a good doper, we'd always take the trophy shots, with all the drugs. And now my trophy shots are articles in the paper of
A perp walk.
yeah, hell yeah. But it's a good feeling. It's a lot more rewarding to me putting one of those in jail than it is a drug dealer anymore. So I've got some statistics. I've been to lots of trainings. I have over 1,800 hours of continuing ed, various things, I guess, in law enforcement. Most of it has been child sexual abuse, child physical abuse, and adult sexual assault. Believe it or not, Oklahoma has some terrible statistics. And some of these statistics I'm going to give you are from Oklahoma. If they're nationwide, I'll try to clarify that. But most of these that I brought today are for us. This is our state, things that we can do to maybe help prevent some of this or know what to look for. We need to do a better job for sure. So just some of the stats I've brought today. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be molested in the state of Oklahoma before they're 18. Think about it. If you're watching a dance recital and there's 12 little girls up there, good chance 3 of them are going to be molested before they're 18. It's scary. The other scary thing is in Oklahoma, 158 males out of 1,000 are sexual predators. That's state of Oklahoma. It's 5%. I mean, some studies say 1 in 20. So think about 5% of the male population, and only 6% of sex offenders are ever arrested. 6%. That's not very much, you guys. False allegations in child sexual abuse is only 2 to 6%. I've had very few that I could prove was false. And it's usually due to a custody agreement or dad being too strict or, there's all kinds of things that leads into it. It's very, very rare that it's false. But the hard part about child sexual abuse cases working them is only 3% of them will ever have medical evidence. You're not going to get a SANE exam. You're not going to get touch DNA because they're usually delayed disclosures. That means that the child was perped on over the weekend or Uncle Johnny was down visiting or whatever. And when he gets out of the picture and leaves, then the child will build up enough trust to tell somebody and disclose. Well, you don't get no medical evidence. So that's really what sucks in a jury trial because what's everybody watch now? Crime shows, right?
Yeah.
They can, let's run down here and get the DNA from this person, like that. Well, our jurors are wanting evidence. You're fixing to put this guy away. Everything I work is 20 years to life. So they want proof. They want more than this child's disclosure. They want to make sure that the banker that you're saying molested my daughter is guilty. Well, when you don't have medical evidence, that is a big hurdle to get over. And back to and on juries, I think being on a jury and everybody, you guys have probably tried to get out of jury duty before because nobody wants jury duty, right?
I'm waiting for the day I get a letter.
To me, jury duty is probably one of the most patriotic things you can do other than serving the military. You know, we're out there working these cases for weeks, right? We're working for weeks. And then you get, and I shouldn't say good people, more level-headed, prominent people on the jury, they get out of it, you know? Oh, I got to do this, or I got a meeting, they get out of it. And who's that leave us with? Probably somebody in there that might be guilty of doing the same shit the guy's getting tried for, you know? So I always encourage people to, if you get a chance to be on the jury, go do it, you know, listen, be honest. I mean, just do your part. Just do your part. 2/3 of all victims fail to disclose abuse immediately. That's the delayed disclosure I was telling you about. Okay. This is crazy. 60 to 80% delay reporting until adulthood. Okay. We're just getting a fraction. Okay. 60 to 80% delay till adulthood. 21% never disclose. 21% will never tell anybody. It's a hard thing to talk about. You know, 90% of victims know and trust their abuser. Child abuse is the most unreported crime. And here's the thing about child abuse. Remember those stranger danger, and you guys have Chuck E. Cheese around here. I always use Chuck E. Cheese for an example. You know, everybody's afraid somebody's going to steal their kid at Chuck E. Cheese. You know, only 10% are snatch and grabs. 10% of child molesters. That's not how they work. They want to get to know your child. They want to groom your child and get to know your child. They're not going to just snatch them up. I'm not going to say they won't always, but 10%. Okay, compared to the grooming and knowing them. 25 to 28% of child victims end up with sexual behaviors. That's the sad part. And this one here is going to blow your mind. Children of divorce are 7 times more likely to be sexually abused. You know why? You think about all the people in this child's life when they're married. Parents are married already, okay? So then that splits. Well, mama goes and gets a new man and daddy goes and gets a new woman. Well, look at all those different family members and friends you're introducing into that child's life, you know, holidays. And it just increases the chance of it. And I know sometimes divorce has got to happen, but it's something to think about. I mean, 7 times. And here's another hard part of my job. Only 30% of suspects ever confess to sexual child abuse. There's 2 things that you can work in law enforcement, in my opinion, that's hard to get a confession out of. It's crimes against children and it's crimes against the church. Nobody wants to get God mad at them, even though they did the crime, you know, against the church. Vandalism or theft from a church. You cannot get hardly anybody to ever admit they did anything to a church.
Really quick, something to note is that Jesus told us that it is better for us to have a millstone tied around our neck and drown in the deepest depths of the sea than to cause one of the little ones to stumble. So I'm following God when I hate predators. These churches that feed them and protect them, they're not.
We'll get into those churches.
Wait.
In schools, the average age, the average age to report child sexual crime is 53 years old. 53 years old. That's because of the grooming. It's because of the trust. It's because of, I don't want to get you in trouble. You know, you're my friend, you're my buddy. 1 in 10 students are victims of child misconduct within a school. Only 11% of teachers report other teachers for suspected child abuse. That's Oklahoma. Only 5% of known teacher sexual misconduct is reported by a school. That's a national study. 5%. Churches and schools are probably the 2 places that, when I investigate child crimes, will cover or hide stuff more than any other entity. I think they're getting a little better. When I first started, it was terrible. 90% of child molesters reoffend after they're released from prison. You can't fix them, okay? You're not fixing these people. You just don't fix them. Treatment never cures these people. It only helps contain their behavior. And I'll give you an example of how their brain works, okay? You got to think about this. I was in Dallas at a children's advocacy conference. Big to do. I mean, there's thousands of people here, 600 people in this room. Ken Lanning with FBI was presenting it. This lady, they were talking about treatment. And this lady from way up north, I don't know where she was from. I'll never forget it. She stood up in the room, and I'm not going to use the words they use because it's foul. She stood up and she said, we, at our facility, we are taking child molesters and we're putting them in a room and making them watch adult porn for 4 hours a day to reprogram their mind to get them where they're supposed to like adults. Okay. The teacher said, ma'am, can I ask you a question? And she said, yeah, what's that? And he said, how many hours of child porn would I have to show you to convince you it's all right to have oral sex with a 4-year-old boy? That wraps your brain around how they work. They'd never convince you to do that, no matter how many hours of that shit you watch, because that's not who you are. They're not gonna change you. And just throwing this out here, everybody in the state of Oklahoma is a mandated reporter. That means if you see child abuse of any kind, it's your obligation. It's a law. You have to report it. You can actually go to jail for not reporting that. You got to report it to law enforcement or to DHS. It's got to. Who are child molesters? And some of this is from a lot of child molesters have wrote and filled in on this. They know they can't be left alone with children, but they're all trying to help. There's some of them out there in treatment that want to help. Okay. You think you know me well. You don't. I'm your husband, your father, your brother. I'm your wife, your mother, your sister. I'm someone's son, daughter. Someone raised me. They did not intend for me to grow up to be a sex offender. They would be shocked if they knew. I go to your church. I work in the office, shop the same stores. I'm stable. I'm employed. I'm respectable. I pay my bills and my taxes. My education and intelligence don't stop me from molesting your children. You and your children like me. I'm good with children. How I gain access to your child. It's easy. I pay attention to your children and I make them feel special. I present the appearance of being someone you can trust and rely on. I get to know your child's likes and dislikes. I go out of my way to buy gifts, treats for your child that they like. I isolate your child by involving them in fun activities. If you're a single parent, I prey on your fears. That's a big one. I've worked a lot of cases that's single parents, no father figure. Is a lot. Your child's lack of father figure. That's what it is because they're single. Okay. I offer to babysit or take your children on special outings, camping trips, even the movies, whatever. I know more about what kids are into than you do. I take advantage of your child's natural curiosity about sex by telling dirty jokes, showing them pornography, playing sexual games. I spend my free time helping children. I make comments like, we should shoot all those damn sex offenders. That way people won't believe it, that I'm that kind of person when I do get caught. If I'm a parent, it's even easier for me to isolate and control my children. If my children have cousins or friends, I will abuse those too. My wife and family will never suspect a thing. I pointed out when kids lie, and I've seen that a lot. They'll almost document every time a kid will tell a lie. It could be something stupid like where they went after the football game or just something because they can always, when you're interviewing them, they'll always say, well, she lied about this. Might be 6 months ago or a year, but they're like, they got it ready. They've got it. They've got all the lies. And kids are going to lie, about stupid stuff, but kids don't want to lie to get themselves into more trouble or more work than testifying on a stand. It's a lot for them to do. I try hard to make it look like I'm the best parent, uncle, teacher, or coach. I touch your child when you're in the room. If they say something, you will make excuses for me and tell them they are wrong. You will help me offend and you won't even know you're doing it. Yeah. Why don't child molesters get caught? I like children. I'm sexually aroused by children. I trick myself into thinking it's not a big deal. If I have enough practice, I become very skillful. I'm a very good liar. I make it look like an accident, a mistake, a misunderstanding. It's like accidental touches. They'll start out wrestling around with them, touch them somewhere. I didn't mean to do that. Desensitize. They desensitize. And before you know it, it's all right to touch there. I use situations like tucking them into bed, touching them in the sleep, desensitize children to nudity. A lot of them will show them. How easy it is to find porn now. You flip your phone open, and sit down here and look here and watch videos. Happens a lot. They'll leave the bathroom door open so they can see them in there naked, maybe to get their curiosity up, to get them talking about it. After I start abusing them, I will be able to maintain the child's cooperations and silence. I make them feel responsible for what I'm doing. I make them distrust you. Sometimes they hide what I'm doing to them because they love me and I make it fun. I offer them special things they can't get otherwise, so they feel like they need me. I make them think you won't believe them. I warn them that they will be the one who gets punished. I might threaten them even. I tell them they will be put in foster care, won't ever get to see you again. That's a good one. That happens a lot. They'll threaten them, If you tell anybody, you're going to split this whole family apart. You're never going to see them again, which is not true, but in their mind it is. Or they'll get them to taking pictures and they'll get a picture of them and then they'll if you tell anybody, This is going on the internet.
Blackmailing children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell them that I will go to prison. It will hurt their family if I have to go away, right? I make them feel sorry for me, so they will protect my secret. I don't care that my behavior is hurting your child. Once I start, I will not stop. I will continue until you stop me. All right. This one is advice from child molesters. I think this came from the Center of Behavior Intervention. I got this stuff in Dallas as well. I'm someone you know, but you don't really know me. I hide who I am. The prevention program at school won't be enough. Do your part, talk to your children yourself, and prepare them. I will make it hard for your child to tell you what I'm doing. Make it easier for them. Communicate, listen, believe. Trust your child, not me. They deserve your trust. I don't. Teach your child about sexuality. If you don't teach them, I will. Watch for symptoms of sexual abuse, but watch me even closer. Give your children specific information about private parts and secret touching. Tell them it's never okay for someone to touch them, for someone to ask to be touched. Tell them it's not okay to look at other people's private parts. Show theirs to other people. I mean, this all sounds like simple stuff to us, but there's so many parents that won't have those conversations. I mean, when we do forensic interviews on kids, some of them have never been told that, they've never been told where not to touch me. And it's just terrible. We need to educate our kiddos more. Have a good relationship with them, communicate with them, there's a happy medium between being a parent and a friend. And when you find that, you'll have a great relationship with your kiddo. It's not drop the hammer all the time, but you got to find that to communicate. Get them to trust you. Tell them they're not supposed to look at pictures of people that aren't wearing clothes. I mean, that's a real simple one. Tell them if someone shows them naked pictures or naked movies to tell you. Tell them it's always the bigger person's fault and they will not get in trouble. Tell them that people with touching problems try to trick children. Tell them that people who do secret touching have a problem like stealing and lying, that if they can't tell you, they should tell another adult. Get to know your child's friends and family. But the women, what they'll do is if it's an early stage of relationship, they'll be in love with the old boy and they're like, oh, he could never do that. Not that I think they're involved, but the thing that keep women in households a lot with a predator or somebody bad is, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? He's got the job. He's got the car. He's got my phone, pays for my phone. I mean, how am I going to make it on my own? I don't have any family to go to. Yeah, he's my only choice. I've got to stay with him. I mean, I just got to. No, there's options out there if you go look for them. DHS is a great source of help and stuff like that they get brainwashed, I guess. I don't know.
And it's not a good excuse. We see that pattern so much.
Yes.
And it just, in my opinion, it makes them just as sick.
Oh yeah, domestic abuse is bad. I mean, over the years I've worked the same people getting beat up by the same old boy for years and years and years, and we're like, why don't you go somewhere? Well, where am I going to go? He makes all this money and breadwinner,
I hear those are the most dangerous calls for y'all usually is domestic.
Absolutely. That's what they even teach you in the academy. A domestic is the most dangerous call you'll go on. It is. Sometimes you get some good ones now. I've had some good ones over the years. Some of them are just verbal. Some of them get crazy.
And I think that's a big thing that I hear a lot of police officers say is there's a lot of power in de-escalation. There's a lot of it.
Absolutely. And you can only de-escalate somebody that's capable of being de-escalated. Do you put drugs in the mix of that and methamphetamine and get them all jacked up, ramped up, and they don't even know what the hell they're saying, let alone what you're saying,
How is it interviewing child molesters and keeping your composure?
Well, it's taken me a little time to get used to that when I first started. I would say I have a gift of gab when it comes to talking to them. You've got to build a rapport. My average interview with a child molester is probably 2 to 4 hours. We'll sit down for at least 2 hours. I might spend an hour getting to know him, being his friend, being his buddy, before we start rolling into it. And there's certain techniques you use versus interviewing on any other crime, You don't ever use like hurt or mean or you didn't mean to hurt, you don't go there. You may even have to get on to his level and talk about how sexy that 7-year-old was in her bikini and how you understand that, I can see what you're saying there, but, she's pretty rocking, That's why nobody wants the job. Nobody wants to do child crimes. You go to any police department if there's a child crime investigation spot open, you're going to have to put somebody in it. Nobody wants to do it. Ours is the worst. I've had setting up for my retirement. We've probably had 4 in the last 7 or 8 years that I've tried to train, and they're gone. Nobody wants to do it. It sucks, but somebody's got to do it. But nobody wants to take the time to talk to them. They all want to go in there and shoot them in the head, Or I mean, really, I'm just saying that as figure of speech. But they'll tell you, hang that son of a bitch, or hang, talk to him, He needs to be taken out, and blah, blah, blah. You can't have that attitude. You got to talk to them.
Have you ever lost your composure or let your emotions show?
Nope, not during an interview. I have not. Sometimes when I get home, it comes out a little bit, or maybe when they leave, I'll be like, whew. And I'll look at my DHS worker and like, geez, that sucks, huh? And they're like, yeah. I've seen a lot of people lose their composure, like DHS workers, especially the new ones that just hear it for the first time. They're like, they'll get all mad. And I'm like, can't do that. You can't get mad. You got to be understanding. It's not like interviewing for a dope case or a larceny. You don't get in their ass, Once you get them where you need to get them, you can start strengthening, but they'll wall up on you.
It's almost like you got to ease into it.
Build a rapport. You got to build a rapport for sure. And yeah, I've got some really good confessions over the years that just by building rapport, I think that's the whole thing on an interview is.
I mean, we see it, like you're saying, documentaries. You can totally tell that they think y'all are working with them, but the whole time you're playing on their arrogance and their mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to get in their head. Some of them's head you get into, and you wish you wasn't in there for
I'll back out.
as long as you get to be in there. Sure.
How likely is it for a child who's been assaulted to be assaulted again, but by somebody else?
I've had it happen. Absolutely. Usually it's because they're a good victim, probably due to their living arrangements with their mother, or, they may not have the best mom and she keeps pawning them off. Or I've had moms let people babysit kids that they know that they've been accused of the stuff in the past before, and they want to go out to the casino that night. They're going to need a babysitter. That's where you get into your failure to protect, or failure to report or failure to protect if they're letting a known child molester watch your kid.
I'm still thinking about the police department that's having child molesters watch porn, because I have seen so many cases, and obviously not a fraction of you, but just in the last year, so many predators who became predators because they started with an extreme porn addiction, and then it just spiraled and nothing was enough.
Yeah. You can't fix them. I don't think you can fix them.
On if you can rehabilitate them or not.
Oh, no. That scenario I just give you with the porn, in your brain, does that make any sense that would work?
No. It kind of feels like giving drug addicts weed instead of heroin.
Right, to get them off the heroin. Yeah.
Okay, so we know now after talking with you that it's very common for child molesters to prey on single parents. How common, I know you talked about some, but how common is it for them to have children to molest them?
To have a children just to molest that child.
Yeah.
I've worked that one, and he was an evil monster.
But it's not something you're seeing very frequent. Okay.
No. That's a long game. I mean, because these child molesters, they'll usually have prepubescent, post-pubescent, they'll have areas of the child's age that really gets them off, that's what they're into. You might have one that likes the diaper age, and once they hit 3 or 4, too old. Or once they start growing hair down there, too old. They like specific ages that they target. And once that child is out of that age, they're no longer interested in them. And it doesn't have to be, some of them, boy or girl. I've seen straight guys molest boys because the boy child turns them on sexually, but a adult man doesn't. It's what they're into. It's what trips their trigger.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're sick. I mean, it's what makes them go. It's what makes you want to go ride your horse. Something that you enjoy to do, or something you enjoy that's their enjoyment.
Who do you see as the most frequent reporter? Is that parents, family members, schools?
Almost never schools, really. That's why I hate to talk bad about schools, because I get so many good disclosures from there, and there's a very few bad apples, in a school, but they're there. I'm gonna say our school, we've got a really good boys and girls club too. Anywhere kids can get around adults they trust, that they feel comfortable talking to, that maybe their parents a scrote bag and they're like, don't feel comfortable talking to them, goes back to that relationship, having a good relationship with your kid. Have a good relationship with your kiddo, they'll talk to you, they'll tell you stuff. Me and my daughter had, growing up, she was my best friend, but I was still her parent. But I've had her come to me before and tell me, Dad, so and so wants me to send him a nude. How many kids are going to go tell their dad that? When you get,
I can't think of one.
right.
I guess I know one.
Yeah.
So when you get that kind of a relationship with your kid that they'll tell you that, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, she trusts me. I've got a good relationship
You
with my
did something
daughter.
right.
Yeah. I'm like, pat on my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say schools, and you get a lot of the custody battle parents, is probably the number one. I'm not gonna say how many of those are actually factual, but that's probably the number one reporter. That's usually they're using them as a pawn, to help them out in court. Yeah, and we'll have, and the new thing that they're doing. I shouldn't say their new thing, but like say you and your husband divorce, and you've got and you got a kiddo, and it's at his house. You call the police and say, "Hey, I need a welfare check down on my kid." And then the police go to your husband's house, knock on the door. Can I see little Brianna? Is she here? I got to put eyes on her, make sure she's good. Just aggravates the shit out of him. And they use us for that a lot. And it just gets stupid that they would use us to go interrupt his life because his girlfriend may be over there or something visiting. So the police rapping on the door, and then the girlfriend's like, "What the hell's the cops here for?"
Do you think people that do that should get in trouble if there's not something that is truly happening?
Yeah, our law enforcement administration now, they've got some sort of a protocol in place now where we ask questions like, why do you think, why do you think this child's in danger or hurt? And you could lead them into almost a false reporting kind of thing if they run their mouth, that it takes a lot of our resources, a lot of time to go, and it happens a lot. And it'll be the same couple for weeks until they either get the divorce done, or it's just ridiculous. Moms are actually, they're targeted for sure. Single, no money, dopers, whatever, don't watch your kids very good. And narcotics used to be really fun, but now, since there's so many changes in the last 24 years, that state question 780, it basically ruined being a dope cop. Everything's fucking misdemeanor. We are the only state, heroin, meth, cocaine are misdemeanors. Absolutely. Used to, when I had my canine, if we found a seed, your ass going to jail. Yeah. My dog's getting a fine and you're going to jail. Weed was a misdemeanor, and those other three were felonies, no matter amount. Now there's a measurable amount you can have. And they took away our 1,000 feet from a school, 1,000 feet from a park. So you can be sitting in a school parking lot with a syringe of meth in your arm, and my guys are going to write you a ticket. They're going to write you a ticket. Traffic, basically a traffic ticket. So back when we worked a lot of dope, you catch somebody with an 8-ball meth, you're going to pull them into the room and say, "Hey, you're looking at years in prison. We need to talk about where this shit come from. Where'd you get it from? We need to go work some deals, go do some buys, and you give me 3 buys, give it to the DA, you give me 3 buys, you walk. All right, you may have to testify, they may take a plea, but you give me 3 buys. Now, I caught you with meth, you get your $300 ticket that you can make $25 a month payments on. Are you going to go buy dope for me? You're not going to go buy dope for me. You're going to pay your $25 a month to keep doping and keep people from getting mad at you." That 780 ruined Oklahoma.
I went to a class on Wednesday, and did you know that Oklahoma is, I think we're first in the nation for black market marijuana because we're so...
Oh, yeah, all the greenhouses. I don't know how you guys are here, but back home, the things are everywhere. But OBN has been smashing them lately. They've been tearing them down. But they'll come in and grow that shit and just leave them, and it just ruins our whole countryside. There's Biz Queen and shit everywhere, and junk, and the dope world is. And you don't have McGirt here, but we have McGirt there. McGirt ruling, where the Cherokee Nation. Okay, that's another change that we're dealing with. It's we're considered the world's largest Indian reservation now, because like anything east of I-35 all the way up through Miami and down, we're now Indian reservation. So if you're a Cherokee citizen and you molest a child or you shoot her, murder, the max you can get is 3 years, Cherokee Nation. So we all had to go get cross-stepped as Cherokee marshals to work their crimes, and then you get 3 years. So if we get a serious crime and our suspect is native, McGirt's changed so much. It was if the victim was native and the suspect didn't win it. Now they've changed it where it doesn't matter what the victim is. If the suspect is one of the 574 recognized tribes, they get McGirt. So they got to go to court in Tahlequah. So now they've changed it where the states fought that, and now you have to be actually a Cherokee citizen, because before you could be Potawatomi, you could be a tribe from Washington and still get McGirt. Now they've changed that where it's just a Cherokee citizen. So if we get a serious crime that a Cherokee commits that we know they're going to get 3 years, that we want more, we call feds.
Wow.
We pitch it to FBI. And then you get FBI, whether they'll take it or not, whether they're involved in it, because the FBI will tell you they're not really set up to handle sexual crimes, believe that or not.
Is there a more common theme on people who do assault children? Are they on drugs versus not? Or does that have any key factor into it?
I'm sitting here thinking, I've had some, that were druggies that molested kids, but I'm going to say usually they probably want to be sober enough they can enjoy it, remember the skin touches and skin memories.
All right, so since you answered the question that we like to end on, I'm going to revise it for you. If we can't rehabilitate them, what the hell do we do with them?
Find an island a long, long ways away.
Test on them instead of animals.
That's right.
They don't know what no means anyways.
That's right.
This would be a great opportunity because of the island that Jeffrey
Epstein. Yeah,
there we go.
Instead
Instead of the kids being assaulted, let's just throw those sick fucks back on that and use it for any shred of good.
Yeah, it's already broke in.
Yeah.
The Hunger Games of sexual offense.
That's right.